Hey folks, and welcome back, and in today's video we will be looking at this Raspberry Pi 5. Now we will be looking at what are the various design changes, what new components are available in the Raspberry Pi 5, and then afterwards we will assemble this into the official case along with this active cooler. Now finally we will look at how this active cooler performs under various loads. So with this, let's get started. Now this one I was waiting for quite some time, and today we have this Raspberry Pi here with us. Now I bought this entire kit, that is the power supply, the official case, as well as the active cooler. I'm actually pretty excited about this active cooler. I want to actually test it out. So this is the Raspberry Pi 5 that we have here. Now there are a lot of design changes here compared to its predecessor, that is the Raspberry Pi 4, as well as in terms of performance also. There has been a good amount of improvement around performance, and let's look at the various things that now we have on the Raspberry Pi. So first to look at is this Broadcom chip. So this Broadcom SoC that we have here, this is the 2712 SoC, which has both the CPU as well as GPU built into it. Now this is a quad-core Cortex A76 chip which supports up to 2.4 GHz. Now this one also supports a better GPU, that is the Video Core 7 GPU, and it is much faster than the previous one that we have. Now overall I would say that everything is faster, everything is greater, and everything is better. But yes, it is. In terms of the specs and in terms of what Raspberry Pi has come out with, for this price, it was really good. So if you get the 8GB version, it's costing like nearly 80 euros. The 4GB version cost like around 60 euros. Whereas I'm not sure if the 2GB variant comes in. But I have seen something is that you have this resistor here wherein it actually tells you like what variant of this board it is. So this one is a 4GB variant, and you see here like there's this resistor here which actually tells you that this is a 4GB variant. We just spoke about the CPU, GPU and the RAM. Now actually look at the various parts that this thing has. So first of all, remember we had this display cable here wherein we would actually connect some kind of a camera or even an external display to it via this flat cable that you used to get. But now that is actually moved to this location here. So at this location we have two of these slots. So now these are like dual channels which will support either the camera or it will support a display here. So you can now connect a camera as well as a display. You don't have to sacrifice to decide which one you want to connect here. Now in this place we have the most interesting feature of the Raspberry Pi 5. That is the support of the PCIe slot. Now this PCI Express slot that we have. Now remember in your computers, if you're familiar with gaming, you would insert a graphic card in a PCI Express slot, right? This is the slot that is actually now provided here, and this will support now hats that will allow you to connect to this slot using flexible cables. And with that you can now connect an SSD or an M.2 SSD using this hat mechanism. Now I don't have the hat with me right now, but this is something that is one of the most interesting feature about the new Raspberry Pi 5. Now there are some hats that are already available, and you can now connect your M.2 SSD to it and then use this as a full-fledged computer also. Using the SSD, obviously you get higher speed and higher throughput, so that is a really good thing. Now there are also some YouTubers who have shown how you can connect even a graphics card to it. I'm not much into graphic cards and stuff, so as of now I will tell you that at least from an SSD point of view, this is something really good. Now one of the most awaited feature and the most trivial thing that many of us were actually wanting was this power button. This power button, like in order to configure it with the GPIO pins, we had to hack the case and stuff, and now we have this dedicated power button. Along with this power button, you have this LED indicator which will actually tell you how the board is processing as well as whether the board is on or off. Now the main thing around this LED as well as this power button is that this fits really well with the official case. I will show you what exactly it is such that you will come to know what this looks like. Let's look at it when we assemble it into the case. So now let's actually talk about this section here. So this is the power management system that we have for the Raspberry Pi. Now this has been upgraded such that you can now also support a real-time clock using this battery connector now. So there is this battery connector here with which you can have a real-time clock running on this board itself. So that's yet another feature. Now in terms of power supply, the Raspberry Pi 5 now needs 5 volt 5 amperes input to this. Now why is this 5 volt 5 amperes is to drive all of these powerful features that we have right now. In the market you might get like 5 volt 5 amperes, but I cannot guarantee whether they actually deliver 5 volts and 5 ampere as the output. So I bought this from Raspberry Pi, and then we will connect this board with this official adapter. Now along with this we have this UART connector with which you can do some serial debugging. Now I'm not sure how exactly that is to be done, but you have this capability and you don't have to use the GPIO pins to actually do this debugging now. Now the next part that we have here is this port to actually connect your fans. Now in my Raspberry Pi 4 I was actually connecting it via the GPIO pins and then power the fan using this pins. Now we have this dedicated fan switch here wherein you can connect the fan directly, and now with this active cooler that we have, this we will actually connect it to this port here. Now the next part that we will look into is the MicroSD slot. So MicroSD slot that we have here, this is now supporting UH1, and this means it will be twice as fast as compared to the Raspberry Pi 4. Now along with this we have the 4 USB slots here. So we have the USB 3 here and USB 2 here. Now the USB 3.0 will support up to 5 gigabits per second, whereas this will support a little bit lower than that. Now along with the higher input to the board, that is a 5 amperes, we will get higher data speeds on this USB. Now this is the same arrangement that we have in the Raspberry Pi 3 version. In case of the Raspberry Pi 4, we had the Ethernet port here and the USBs here. So the USB and the Ethernet port arrangement is back to how it was in the Raspberry Pi 3 right now. Now with this board, let's look at the two HDMI ports. So we have this mini HDMI ports with which you can connect two 4K monitors at 60 Hz. Now the video performance of these two ports will be better in terms of the new GPU that we have here. So we will actually test this out and see how this thing works. So that's all I can say about this board. These are the major highlights that we have. In terms of performance, in terms of speed, it is told that it is nearly 2 times faster than the predecessors. So we will actually now assemble all of this. We will put in the case, we will put in the active cooler now and see how this thing works. And I'm going to place this on this, and let's take out the case. So let me open the case right now. The case is really nice. Like, this is how the case looks like, and let's open it. And you have this snap-in case as well as you have this fan with it. Let's open this, and that's how you can now open the case. And along with this, let's see what we have inside this. Oh, we have some pads here, and then we have a heatsink also. So we have this heatsink which will most probably go here, I guess, and I'm going to keep this aside. Okay, so we have the case here. Let's actually put this inside the case. Let me show you the case internals here. So if you see here, you have this button with which when I press this button, this will touch this power supply button here. So let's place this thing inside now. Let's try and close this. Oh, nice. It fits really snug in this. So here you have the slot for the SD card. Then here you have your power now, which you can click and turn on the Pi, as well as you have this look from top, and this is the side view for the ports that we have right now. Now the other thing is that you can also take out this top panel. So let me actually remove, and then you can snap out this from here. So let me take it out. So you can also have this being used here directly. So if you have like a hat that you want to connect to this Raspberry Pi, then you can have this case in this manner opened up, and then you can have the hat on top of this. So that will actually allow you with the official case itself. Now next, actually we want to look at the active cooler, right? So let me open the active cooler. So we have this active cooler here. Let me open this, and this is how the active cooler. This is literally like a toy to me. Meaning it's really nice. It's like nicely built, and you have this CPU paste that you usually put on top of the heat sinks. So you have these pads here. I will have to remove this to put it on that. So this actually fits in here, but when I fit this thing here, can you fit this on top of it? Let's actually look at it. I want actually finally this to be used, so I'm going to peel this out and connect it to the Raspberry Pi. So let me take this thing out. Okay, so I placed it, but if you see here, there's this hole here for the fan as well as a hole here for the fan. So I'm going to actually press this such that it passes through the hole here. So this one actually also snapped in. So if you see here, it snaps in here this way, and this one snaps in here this way. So we have this here right now, and this is how the board looks like. I really like the design. I really like how compact it is, and it's so small. It's just the size of like a card or something like that. Like it's small, it's compact. I like it. So now the other part is that we have to connect this fan cable, right? So I have this thing here. Let me remove this from this. So I removed the covering for the fan, and this is how it's supposed to be fitted in. So now the fan port is connected, and we have the board all ready right now. So let's put this inside the case. When I try to put this here, it does not actually fit in. Why? Because we have this fan here. Let's remove this. So you can remove this top part from here, like how I have done it right now. And I'm going to try to remove this fan which has been there. So now I've snapped this thing back again, and let's see if this thing fits. So apparently not. It does not fit because these things are here. I would have to cut this thing out, but instead I would rather remove this thing. So let me remove this. So just be careful that if you want to use the case, you can use it without the active cooler with this thing on top, or you would have to remove this so that you can allow the active cooler to fit in. You can then connect this way, and there we go. So we have this compact case right now. I like the case. The Raspberry Pi case are really nice. They look really good. So now next what we have to do is connect a MicroSD card here and connect the power cable here. So now let's do that. So for that we are going to open this box here. That's the official charger from Raspberry Pi, and we are going to connect this. So let's connect this now. So I have connected now the power cord, and this is the USB-C cable that I have right now. So let's connect this. You can see it has turned on and it is showing this green light right now. I can hear the fan actually rolling actually. So let's see if you can hear this. Yeah, it's actually up and running. So let's actually open this, and there we see that the fan is actually running right now. Let me try and turn it off. So now to turn off the Raspberry Pi, I had to press and hold it, and it actually turned it off. So that's how I had to do it right now, because right now we have not prepared our SD card with the OS. So first we are going to do that right now. So what we have here right now is this raspberrypi.com/software, and here we will download the latest imager through which we will download the Raspberry Pi onto an SD card. So here I'm going to click on download for Mac, and I'm going to go to downloads and save this. Yes, and then this downloads it. Let's open this thing up, and then we have this imager here. So let me put this here, and I'm going to replace the existing one that I already have. So with this, I have the Raspberry Pi imager with me. Let me open this, and there we go. We have the Raspberry Pi OS imager with us. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to now choose device, and here we have the option for Raspberry Pi 5. So let's actually select Raspberry Pi 5 here. I'm going to select the OS, and here I'm going to select the Raspberry Pi OS, the 64-bit one. Now in the storage, I'm going to select this, and then we have this micro SD card being detected. So let me click on that. Let's click on next. And now it's actually asking if I want to use some of the OS settings. So let's look at these OS settings what we have. So first of all, I have configured here the LAN settings. So my wireless LAN, you can set in your SSID as well as the password here itself, such that it connects to your Wi-Fi network. Along with this, if you want, you can enable SSH login also, and there are these other options also here. Now let's actually go back to general settings, and I'm going to save this. Now let's go ahead and click on yes, and do you want to continue, and I'm going to say yes, and I'm going to now start writing this on the micro SD card. So this will take a little bit of time, so let's wait for this thing to complete. So now with this, we have the micro SD card loaded with the Raspberry Pi OS. So now I'm going to click on continue, and next what we are going to do is eject this micro SD card, and now what we are going to do is connect this micro SD card. So let me insert this here right now, and we are going to connect a monitor. So let's connect this micro HDMI port here. So with this, let's now start the Raspberry Pi 5 for the first time. So I'm going to press this button now here, and if you see, it has turned green right now. So it is right now running, and let's actually look at the output from here. So there we have, so we have this thing actually running right now. So let's wait and see what happens. Now I have not connected any kind of mouse or something for it to work. So let me do that actually now. So right now what I've done is I've connected my keyboard as well as a mouse to the Raspberry Pi here, if you can see. And if you see here, you can see the IP address is already assigned. That means our Raspberry Pi is connected to the Wi-Fi network. So now let's go through the setup right now. So I'm going to click on next. I'm going to click on next again. So I've given it a username and password now. Let's click on next. And yeah, it has already connected to this. So let me skip this for now. Just going to ask me for my default browser. I'm going to click on next, next, and then it's going to check for some updates. So right now the fan is pretty much silent. Like I cannot hear it. If I try to open this, let's see. The fan is running, but it's really silent, meaning I actually cannot hear the fan running or not. For a second I thought it was off, but it's actually running. And if I touch the heatsink, it is kind of hot actually right now, meaning to my touch I would say like it's like 50 degrees Celsius probably, but yeah, it is kind of hot a bit. So this means that using the active cooler is actually a good option, because I cannot hear this fan at all. And secondly, like I can see that there is a lot of heat generated also. That means it's running hot actually right now. So right now, if you see on the screen, it is downloading the updates right now. So let's wait for it to complete. Also, let's close this thing in the meantime, and I want to see how the heat dissipation happens. So if I turn this thing here, there's like a gap between this top cover here and this bottom case here. So this is to allow the airflow to pass through this case. And also, like with the new improved case with this grill at the back, this will allow better air to flow through the entire board. So that's actually a good improvement from the Raspberry Pi official case that I feel. So right now it is saying that the system is up to date. It needs to restart. So let's allow it to restart right now, and let's wait for it to restart. So on boot, I have noticed that the fan runs really loud. It runs at full speed, and then afterwards it goes silent, and it tries to maintain as silent as possible such that the fan does not make a lot of noise. So there we go. We have the Raspberry Pi up and running here, and it has assigned itself an IP address, and we have the Bluetooth connection also on. So first thing what we're going to do is let's look at the CPU specifications. So for this, you type in this lscpu command, and if you see here, it's showing that the max CPU speed is 2400 megahertz. It has 4 cores here, and right now it's running like 1 thread per core. Now along with this, you get to see the model here of the CPU, that is Cortex A76 chipset. And let's look at the temperature actually. So for this I have this second command called as PCgen. Let's run this, and it is right now running at 46.6 degrees. So that's the current temperature it is running at. And what we want to see is, let's try to load a YouTube video. So I'm going to open this browser here, this 4K sample video which is from LG. Let's play this and see how it is working. And let's put on the stats for nerds. It is running pretty smooth, I would say. Let's maybe put it in full screen, and it is running pretty smooth. Like, it's showing that it dropped like 4 frames right now. Oh, it's showing that it can run maximum, that is full HD at 60 frames per second. But if you see running this previously on the Raspberry Pi 4, it would be a little bit choppy, but this is running pretty smooth on this. So I would say in terms of the temperature also, I don't think so it must have risen again. Let's keep this running here and let's look at our temperature. So I'm going to run the command again, and it's right now running at 54.9 degrees Celsius. So it's kind of okay. It's running a bit hot, but okay. It's playing a 1080p video here. We can try to open another tab here. So I opened another one. So I can hear a little bit of the fan running louder because it's actually running faster now. You can hear it right now a bit. With these two videos running simultaneously, it has put in a little bit of pressure on the GPU. So let's actually try and see what the current temperature is. And the temperature has now gone to 59.8. As per using it as a normal PC, I think you can still use it as a normal PC if you are not doing really intensive work. So right now running both the videos at 1080p at 60 frames per second. Both the videos are running at this frame rate and this quality, and it is actually pretty running quite smooth, like meaning with the support of the newer GPU as well as the CPU, this is actually performing pretty well. So overall, my verdict is that if you are planning to buy a Raspberry Pi, you can buy the Raspberry Pi 5. It is cheaper in price in compared to the other boards that are out there. I would say that as per what I have figured out, what I have found out as per reviews, there are some boards which are a little bit more expensive, but they provide more power. But if you're actually trying to tinker around with the GPIO pins, a lot of small processing, like you can have like a NAS drive been created using the Raspberry Pi also, I think this would be a really good alternative. So we just saw how the Raspberry Pi performs with this active cooler in the official case. Now in my next video, we will be looking at how this performs against the Raspberry Pi 4. So if you want to support this channel, there are links into the description below wherein you can buy me a coffee or just support me via Patreon. Now, if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button as well as hit that subscribe button for more such videos to come. Till then, take care and I will see you in my next one.